Extreme Rules 2019, the good, the bad, and the ugly review. It is upon us, and as you can see, there's already a tally up on the board. As you can see, there's already a tally up in the ugly column. But why BC, you ask? Well, you see, what we're doing in this review show, we're going to break our traditional rules. And I'm actually going to count the pre-show matches in this review. Because something happened in last night's pre-show that I cannot let slide. I can't just sweep it under the rug like it never happened. And of course, I'm talking about a match that was promoted just 24 hours in advance. A match that was for the Intercontinental title. A match that saw Finn Balor lose that Intercontinental title in a match that was just about 7 minutes long. If you don't have any issue at all with any of that, then you're probably one of those fans that is adding and contributing to the problems that lie within WWE. You're the type of fan that'll honestly take any dish that Vince McMahon serves and say, "Please, sir, can I have some more?" And that's great for you. If you're honestly entertained, that's awesome. But when you hear fans like me, people like me, that know what they're talking about and are trying to change the business for the better, then these are not the channels for you. Because you're just going to watch someone like me and say, WWE fans are never happy. You claim you want Nakamura as champion, they give Nakamura the title, and you still complain. Well, I wonder why we're complaining, as you call it. Shinsuke won the title in a pre-show in a 7-minute match that was advertised just 24 hours in advance. 30% of the crowd wasn't even sitting in their seats yet. 40% of people at home probably weren't even watching the pre-show by that point. At least 40%. So nearly half your audience didn't even see a prestigious title or what should have been a prestigious championship on the line. They didn't even see it change hands. What does that say for Nakamura, the new champion? That's how much faith you had in the title and in Nakamura. You give him 7 minutes in the pre-show. And by the way, yet again, it was just advertised a day beforehand. Not only what does it say for Nakamura, what does that say for Finn Balor, who was one of the worst Intercontinental champions of all time? No fault of his own. He was just either kept off TV, nothing meaningful, and when he was putting on matches, they gave him about a couple of minutes to showcase nothingness. Meaningless, move-for-move bullshit. That's the truth. Balor was irrelevant even with the title. Then he drops it on the pre-show in a 7-minute match. What does that say for Balor? And I don't want to hear what this sets up in the future. BC, maybe he'll go heel and join the club. BC, maybe they got big plans. No, it's the same thing with Samoa Joe when he dropped the championship to Ricochet, the US strap. And then he went over to take on Kofi Kingston for the heavyweight championship. And everyone went, "See, BC? Samoa Joe dropped the US title because they're going to give him the world heavyweight title." No, they weren't. If you see bullshit booking like this, it's because Vince just doesn't believe in you. He clearly doesn't believe in Finn, and he doesn't believe in Shinsuke, and he doesn't even care about the IC strap. That's just a title to shut people up in the corner. All of us fans that know they have talent, it's to shut us up. Look, they have championships. We'll put them on the pre-show with the damn cruiserweights. That was a travesty last night, and that automatically went to the ugly column before we even started filming this video. Now, if I'm going to count the pre-show, okay, what do you want me to say about Drew Gulak and Tony Nese? What do you want me to say about it? That it was good? They put on a good match? It's the fucking cruiserweights. I never doubted they can put on a good match. My issue with the cruiserweights is that they're always in the same spot and they never are evolving them. They're not giving them characters that we care about because they're stuffed on a show that nobody knows about. They don't care about the cruiserweight division. All they do every single pay-per-view is put the cruiserweights on the pre-show. It's the same song and dance, and we could be doing this for the next 10 decades. So no, I don't care if it was a 20-star match by Meltzy Boy himself. The fact that this is the same shit every fucking pay-per-view, that goes into the bad. The match was actually fucking decent. But this review isn't your average review. We just don't give goods just because for decent matches or decent wrestling. It's about everything. It's about the entire presentation. And by the way, before we even get to the main show, I have another tally to put in that you're not going to like probably. And that's what I started in the last big special event review of The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, when I told you guys from now on, if the set doesn't look different, if there's not a pay-per-view vibe, if there's no pyro, if there's no life on these pay-per-view / special events, it's going into the bad automatically. In fact, I think I even put it in the ugly column last time. But I'm going to be generous this time and put the beginning to this pay-per-view into the bad. Because when we started this show, there was no fucking pyro. There was no life behind it. There was no pay-per-view vibe or feel. It just looked like another Raw or SmackDown. And every single time I do a review of a pay-per-view from here on out, actually started from last Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, the last special event, I told you guys every single pay-per-view from here on out that they do not bring a special vibe and feel to the pay-per-view. A different set, maybe some pyro, bring us a good, special, cool opening segment. Something has to feel special and tell us right from the beginning that this is a pay-per-view. And if it doesn't from now on, it's going into the bad. And again, last time I think I put it in the ugly, so I'm being generous. But this pay-per-view literally, don't even just take my word for it if you didn't see it. Go and check it out. It started by just the camera zooming into the crowd that was lackluster because there was no pyro or nothing. The camera zooms in a little bit to the crowd, and Michael Cole nonchalantly just says, "Welcome everyone to Extreme Rules, where we're gonna start off with a tag team match." And we cut backstage and we see Drew and Shane McMahon walking toward the ring. That was the opening of Extreme Rules. And you wonder why nobody was excited. There was no life put into that. Your pulse wasn't fucking pulsating at that point. Nothing. I remember back in just Monday Night Raw back in the day, when you would have the awesome theme playing us in. Right? The theme would be blasting, pyro, and I'm talking not some sparkler bullshit. I'm talking blast. This was pyro, like things were exploding, man. And then all of a sudden the camera would be zooming, signs everywhere. People knew that was the wild place to be for the next several hours. Anything could happen, and it was going to. I understand we're out of that era and things are PG and things suck today in pro wrestling, especially WWE, I should say. But dude, you have to bring a life, a pulse to your pay-per-views. At least change if you're not going to give us pyro because Vince wants to put all his money in his XFL. So he took all the money that was going to go to pyro, he took that and he's sucking it all up and he's bringing it over to the XFL. He's even selling a shitload of his stock so he can pay for the XFL. So I understand it's a business move and he thinks that cost-cutting pyro is the way to go. But you can't change up your sets to make them feel different than Raw and SmackDown? All he did when he created this network was he said, we'll get them this way. He's trying to fool the audience. We'll give them more special events / pay-per-views, but we're going to give them actually less in the show. So we're going to claim, hey, if you sign up for the subscription for the network, everything's free. This pay-per-view's free. SummerSlam's free. Free. But you have to learn early in life. Nothing in life is free. There's always a price to pay. So he's saying free, but you're really getting nothing in these shows. You're getting nothing. Meaningless bullshit. So we thought when the network came around, oh, we're going to get more events. It's going to be awesome. No, we're getting more events with a lot less in those events. We're getting nothing of substance in these events. Sometimes less is more. I'd rather go back to years ago when we had about 4 or 5 main pay-per-views. Shit, even before King of the Ring, when there was just 4. Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Survivor Series. 4 big pay-per-views a year. Every pay-per-view meant something. It had substance and it was meaningful. This shit looks the same. It looks like we're watching Raw or SmackDown. And again, Michael Cole at the beginning of this pay-per-view just literally says, "Welcome everyone to Extreme Rules, where we start off with a tag team match." No big badass theme music, no pyro, no different staging area. I'm sick of this bullshit, man. How is that a special event? How is that a pay-per-view worth people pulling out their wallets and paying for it? How? It didn't have the vibe. It didn't have the feel. So right off the gate, before we even get to the main show matches, there is 3 tallies. 1 in the ugly for Shinsuke and Finn Balor in that travesty. 1 for the setup or non-setup, the lack of creativity, the non-pay-per-view / special event feel, and a bad for the cruiserweights being in the same spot, the same position every single pay-per-view. We haven't even got to the main fucking show, and we already have 2 fucking bads and a fucking ugly. Now, if you're new to the good, the bad, and the ugly reviews, when we do the final count at the end of this video, at the end of the review, these uglies get crossed out and they turn into 2 bads. And that's how we determine if it was a good or a bad pay-per-view. So you want to stay away from ugly. So the fact that they already have an ugly and they have to dig their way out of this hole come the main show, that's not good. That ugly could come back to haunt them later on in this review when we do the final count. That's all I'm saying. All right, let's get to the main show now. I've spewed enough on that whole fucking pre-show and going into the main show. Let's talk about the first match. And I told you this was going to happen, guys, on the pre-show that I did this past weekend on the podcast. I told you guys Shane and Drew versus Roman and Taker was either going to start or end the night, and Becky and Seth Rollins was going to flip it. So they were going to start or end. So these 2 tag matches were going to be a bookend. One was going to start, one was going to end, and I was 100% correct. I know how Vince books. So they started off with Shane and Drew versus Roman and Taker. Vince had to have been smiling from ear to ear because the crowd was popping for the Undertaker last night, man. Roman was just along for the ride. I mean, you see this reception Taker was getting. Roman was in the ring like, hey guys, I'm here too, man. But it worked. Vince was hoping that if he stuck Roman with Taker, it would be less of a bad reaction for Roman. And that's not shade. Anyone who knows Philadelphia and Roman knows that Philly does not treat Roman kindly at all, man. They just don't like Roman. And you can date back to the Royal Rumbles when he won that Rumble and The Rock came out and even The Rock got booed out of the building. They were not having it. So they were never really happy with Roman Reigns, but Undertaker took all of that attention off. So Vince was happy as fuck. And when this match, as it went on, it became evident what the game plan was. Roman wasn't a big part of this match. This was about a 20-minute match, and it was mostly The Undertaker. So I'm sure Vince was thrilled that fans were into the match, popping for the Taker, and not booing Roman Reigns out of the building. Vince looks at that as a victory. No doubt Roman would look at that as a victory. I came to Philly. I didn't get booed out of the building. I don't care if they didn't give me any attention at all. I don't care. At least I wasn't booed out of the building. So Vince was definitely smiling ear to ear because that Philly crowd was going insane for The Undertaker. And then on top of that, it was actually a good match. Taker was over the top impressive in this match. Again, he carried this match. He was on a mission, The Undertaker was, to prove that Super Showdown match with Goldberg was a one-time fluke. Everything bad that could have happened in that Super Showdown match with Goldberg. And Undertaker was out to prove that even at his age, at this stage in the game, he could still bring his A game. And for his age, at this time in the game, he brought his A game, I felt. No question. That was the best you could have possibly seen The Undertaker at his age and at this stage in the game. I mean, his leg drops, he got some height on those. The strength was there last night. His mobility for his age in this stage in the game was fucking spot on. The best you were going to get from the Taker was there, and he was on, rolling on all cylinders. That was not the Taker we saw in that Goldberg match. And again, it just seems like everything that could have went wrong in that Super Showdown match with Goldberg went wrong. Because that's Taker, man. And that shows you that he didn't need to be in a tag team match. He carried that shit. And that was about 20 minutes long. You're telling me he can't go 10, 15 minutes on his own? Of course he can. It just shows you that maybe the Goldberg thing didn't work out, and obviously knocking himself out beforehand didn't help at Super Showdown. But Taker was back on his game, man, and everything, all of that respect that he lost and all that shit that he took at Super Showdown, now we're all talking about how great he looked last night and how good that match was last night. So this was an absolute awesome 360 that occurred for The Undertaker in his career this late in the game. So, again, the match was fucking good, too. He proved that the Super Showdown thing was just a one-time shit show, and he proved that he can still deliver. So this was absolutely retribution for The Undertaker. And again, Roman was kind of on the sidelines this whole match for the most part, and I'm sure Vince was okay with that, and Roman was okay with that. When it was all said and done, again, this was a good physical match. Elias got involved late in the match. And with Roman down and out, again, he was kind of like a side note in this match. It was basically a 3-on-1 on The Undertaker for several minutes. Until Taker was like, fuck this, I've had enough. Then Taker gets a massive post beating adrenaline, and Undertaker takes everybody out with choke slams, and Shane McMahon actually gets a pretty devastating tombstone, and that's a 1-2-3. Undertaker and Roman win this match. And again, this was a physical, good first match. Went nearly 20 minutes. Undertaker looked amazing. There's no fucking negatives in this match that I can think of. This was absolutely good. So at least we're in the good column finally, guys. And after the match, this was the funniest part. This was hilarious. And again, this isn't shade to Roman, but if you watch this, it's hilarious. After the match, Philly was still going nuts for The Undertaker. The music's playing, The Undertaker's getting all these cheers. Then the music for The Undertaker stops suddenly, and they start playing Roman's theme. Dun-dun, dun-dun, dun-dun. The second Undertaker's music stops and they started playing Roman's, the whole crowd, you can listen and you can watch them. Go back and check it out. The whole crowd just puts their arms down and goes pretty much silent for Roman, man. It was sad and embarrassing for Roman, but it was like hilarious too, you know what I mean? It was one of those moments you couldn't help but just laugh out loud, because it was just like, they're going nuts for Taker. The music stops, Roman's music hits, and they're like, they don't know if they should boo him, because I think they still are thinking about what he just went through last October, so they're trying to be respectful, but they also know that they're not necessarily, Philly just doesn't care for Roman. It's a fact. You can go back to every Philly show with Roman. So it's almost like they didn't know what to do. So they just went silent, man. And it was kind of sad, but kind of like hilarious. I don't know. Maybe I'm being mean. I'm not trying to be. It's not shade. We love Joe, Roman, as a person. Maybe not as Roman Reigns, but we do love him as a person, man. Joe's a good guy. So that's kind of the sad, embarrassing part. But that was hilarious. But anyway, guys, good fucking first match. I really do feel so. And it took the bad taste from Shinsuke and Finn Balor in the pre-show. This first match on the main show kind of took that bad taste a little bit out of my mouth, you know? It kind of set things a little bit better for me. Going into the second match, they decided to put the Raw Tag Team straps on the line. So they went with back-to-back tag matches. Not tag strap. But they went with back-to-back tag matches. This one was for the strap, the Raw tag straps, and this was Revival, the champions, taking on challengers, the Usos. There was just no way possible that they could follow The Undertaker on his A-game. There was no way possible Usos and Revival could follow that. And that's a shame, because this was actually not a bad match. It went nearly 15 minutes. And again, not bad at all. I stretch to say good because I know they can do better, but not bad at all, man. And at times was even good. It was just that the crowd wasn't there. And they needed a moment after the reception they gave Taker. They needed, I think, a match to kind of come down, unfortunately. That was Revival and Usos. And I think the slower pace didn't help the cause. Usos and Revival can work a much faster pace. Not saying that's the way to go. I'm just thinking that when the crowd needs a down moment and you're going slower than you usually would go, I think that was just a combination of the crowd looking like it didn't give a shit. And that kind of takes away from the crowd at home thinking this is actually something good, if that makes sense. So even though it may not have come across like it was a decent match, Revival and Usos actually was. And the Revival takes the W. And even though I think the Usos are the greatest tag team in the world today, I think this was the right decision, because the Revival just got those tag straps not too long ago. I hate hot potato. Leave it on the Revival, and let's see what they can really do when you actually give them a chance. I like it. Revival and Usos goes into the good column. So we got two good, man. The main show is delivering up to this point. Can match 3 continue this trend? Let's find out. We go into Aleister Black versus Cesaro. Listen, there was moments of physicality in this match, but otherwise a lackluster 10 minutes that just showed a devastating black mass at the end. That's the best way I can review this match. It was about 10 minutes, not too much going on. I saw a couple of online reports saying that Aleister and Cesaro stole the night, that it was the match of the night, and I'm thinking, what was I watching? They had some moments in this match, some spots that were pretty damn physical, but I'm thinking Aleister Black and Cesaro can give you a 25-minute masterpiece, not a 10-minute some moves were okay show. No, that's not Aleister and Cesaro. If you're okay with that, then you're okay with lacklusterness and mediocrity. And you deserve better than that. Aleister and Cesaro can give you better than that. And that's what I mean, guys, about the way I review these shows. I could just come out here and say, wow, amazing match. No, I'm going to tell you that we can do better with certain talents. Why are we not? I'm questioning things. I'm telling you we could have and should have gotten better. Because they can do and should have done better. Vince just doesn't give them more than 10 minutes. What do you expect? So, listen, I'm not going to penalize them on this. There was some physicality in this match, and the ending was badass. That black mass almost took Cesaro's dome piece off. So this is going into the good column. That doesn't mean I'm thrilled with it. That doesn't mean we should have seen more. But because the lacklusterness was kind of offset by the physicality, that leaves us to the ending. And the finish was pretty cool. That black mass was badass. I just don't know what this does for Cesaro's 2-week push. For the last couple weeks, Cesaro looked like he was finally getting a push. And then they put him in there with a guy like Aleister, who you know you can't have lose because you've been running all these vignettes on him and all these backstage segments. So you're in a position where you can't have Aleister lose. You also can't have Cesaro lose. So it sucks to even see any of them lose. It's the same situation with Kofi and Samoa Joe. You can't have Kofi lose because this whole title reign was just to lose against Samoa Joe at Extreme Rules. But you also can't have Samoa Joe lose because he loses all the big pay-per-view matches. I hate seeing that 50-50 type booking where you know one guy's got to lose and he can't. He just can't. So anyway, Black and Cesaro, I'm being generous. I'm putting that into the good column. But I'm not going to rave about it like some people are today. You go back, you watch it. No, it was not this great fucking show that people are claiming. They can do so much more, and they should have been given more than 10 minutes. SmackDown Women's title, Bayley versus Alexa and Nikki. What the fuck was this? Honestly, I ask. This was promoted as a handicap match, and there was no real double teaming in this match. A few spots here and there, a little tag, you're it, double team. Come on, there was nothing of importance double team wise. So why was this, or why did it need to be a handicap match? I'll tell you why. I mean, I know the business behind it, don't get me wrong. It's rhetorical. It's because they wanted to protect Alexa. She was kind of down with a sickness. They didn't even know if she was going to make Extreme Rules. But once you did turn it into a handicap match, then you have to get creative. There's a concept. You have to come up with awesome ideas that are going to make this match memorable. Other than that, because if you don't do that, we're just stuck with another Bayley-Alexa Extreme Rules match that was bullshit, stupid, and just bad. We saw this match 2 years ago at the same event, Extreme Rules, 2 years ago, Alexa versus Bayley, and it was one of the worst matches I've ever seen in my life. Now you add on Nikki Cross, and it still wasn't that much better than their match 2 years ago. Bayley just wins this clean with a flying elbow at the end of the night on Nikki Cross. There was no Sasha Banks. There was no extracurricular activity. There was nothing of importance in this match. Nothing. This whole storyline, keeping Ember Moon off TV, keeping Naomi off TV, keeping Asuka, Kairi all off TV for this one storyline that culminated in nothingness. This was bad. That SmackDown Women's title match was a catastrophe. And it doesn't even look like it's ended yet. Because, who was it? Tom Phillips or Michael Cole, whoever the fuck it was. There's no more brand split, so I don't know who the fuck is on commentary anymore. They all sound the same. But they said, they made it a point to say, do you think Alexa's upset because she's not the one that got pinned? So you already see that they're going to, yes, plant the seed between Alexa and Nikki, okay. But you can also tell that we're going to get another Alexa and Bayley match in the future. Maybe tonight on Raw, maybe on SmackDown tomorrow night, maybe at fucking SummerSlam. Woo, freaking woo. Bobby Lashley takes on Braun Strowman next. This was a Falls Count Anywhere match. It was never booked to be a masterpiece. All that needed to happen with Lashley and Strowman in a Falls Count Anywhere match, all that needed to happen was they beat the hell out of one another all around the arena. And that's what happened. So I'm happy. That is exactly what happened. It was physical. I was satisfied. They went to the concession stand, up to the rampway, all throughout the crowd. They had a pretty badass finish, I thought. They were up on one of the upper levels in the crowd. And Braun Strowman did a power slam to Bobby Lashley down to the lower level. Obviously, they had a safety rig set up, and they went through it. And it was cool. The ref started counting them both out, and all of a sudden, Braun just busts through this wall, and he beats the 10 count. I like it. And I told you guys, if you caught the podcast this past weekend, that the news coming out of the campfire this week was that Paul Heyman has, just like Eric Bischoff is hand-picking Kevin Owens, Eric Bischoff wants to skyrocket Kevin Owens, and that's why you're seeing this sudden push with Owens. Paul Heyman's hand-picked guy we're hearing is Braun Strowman. And that's why you're starting to see him get all these cool things again. So for the third time, they're going to try to reignite the fire that is Braun Strowman. So I like it, man. If that's your end goal, you just got to keep with it now. But I like this. They beat the shit out of each other all around the arena. It was a badass ending, I felt. And when it was all said and done, because you know how this was supposed to be booked, not as a masterpiece, just a physical brawl, I'm good with Lashley and Strowman. Oh no, what am I doing? Sorry, guys. Oh no. I put it in the fucking bag, guys. Sorry. That's good. I was like, I'm good with that. Bad. Hopefully that didn't leave too much of a mark through the camera, man. But that was a good, guys. And now we go into a triple threat tag title match. This was Heavy Machinery, New Day versus Daniel Bryan and Rowan. Even though it was a schmaz match, it was actually a decent match, I will admit. It was good at times, but because it was a schmaz, it shall not be deemed more than just decent. All right? So I'm going to retract the good nature in this. And overall, I'm going to call it decent because the booking of this was a schmaz match. You do have to, in the future, think more about putting champions versus number one contenders. You should not have more than one number one contenders. I miss the days where it was champion versus challenger, not challengers. And that's what I don't like. There's too many schmaz matches in pro wrestling today, especially WWE. So even though this match was fucking good at times, I'm not going to call it overall good because it was a fucking schmaz. All right? I'm not going to budge on that. However, Big E, the Big E we saw at the end of this match, that's the Big E we need to see more of. I've been saying it on this channel for years now, since I started it, right? I've had the channel more than 2 fucking years, and I've been saying it almost from day one, if not from day one. Big E needs to be on his own, going for singles championships. I understand they make some money off the New Day gimmick, but the New Day gimmick is so stale right now, and now you have the Street Profits coming in, that's basically just taking their gimmick. The Street Profits gimmick is basically half New Day and half Crime Time. And I can see in the future, because it already is, it's going to get annoying. Just like the New Day, 65% of the time is annoying. At some point, you're going to have to drop the couple bucks that you're still kind of squeezing out of your audience and let Big E go off on his own. Who knows, he could be a masterpiece and make you more money in the future. But the Big E we saw in the end of this match, man, Daniel Bryan smacking the shit out of him and fucking Big E just getting so pissed off. That's what we need to see more of. That's what I want to see more of. But it doesn't look like it's going to happen anytime soon because the New Day ends up winning the tag team championships here and pretty much cementing the fact that Big E will not be getting any singles push in the near future. And on top of that, Bryan Rowan, their whole tag team reign was for what? To drop the straps at Extreme Rules, and not just drop the straps at Extreme Rules, but to the New Day? 6-time champs for what? What do we need to see the New Day with the straps for? It's at a time where I'm saying they need to be split up. You got a guy who's supposed to be your world heavyweight champion slinging pancakes. You got a guy who nobody gives a shit about because he cares more about playing video games in the back, and I'm talking Xavier Woods. And you got a guy who's ready, who's primed to go on a singles run in Big E. Yet they're all stuck together. All stuck together in what Xavier loves, a threesome, right? I had to, man. I had to. But what's the reasoning behind the New Day collecting more championships? For what? What's it leading to? And wasn't Otis and Tucker, Heavy Machinery, didn't it look like they were finally getting a little bit, not finally, right? They're newer, but it looked like they really were putting stock in them. It looked like they were giving them a pretty cool push. Fans were behind them. If you're going to have Eric Rowan and Daniel Bryan drop the straps, why not to Heavy Machinery? Why not really put the rocket on them and see where we could go with them? If you're going to have your champions drop the straps, why would you put them back on the fucking New Day for more redundancy? Don't tell me at BC they still make so much money. Guys, it's nothing close to what they were fucking making, I assure you. You gotta evolve. You have to think bigger than just squeezing every little dollar out of your audience. You gotta start thinking about getting all of your audience's fucking dough. How can I fucking make such an awesome product that we're gonna make even more money? You think Disney World fucking makes so much money by resting on their laurels and trying to suck every penny out? No, they don't hope and live day by day hoping that they can suck every penny out. They have so much demand because their product is so good that they have to up their prices so they can keep people out of the park. It's called pricing people out. It's a true fucking thing. Google this shit, man. It's when you price people out. And when you do that, you're putting your prices up so high that people can't attend your park. It's not because they're trying to get every dime out of you. They literally have too many people coming to their park. So they price people out. WWE, their product is so fucking lame and lackluster these days, they're trying to suck up their gimmicks from 5 years ago. Let's get every penny out of them. Let's make another New Day shirt. Or you could evolve, try to come up with something creatively that's even better, and you could, I don't know, make more money. I just don't know why Heavy Machinery wouldn't get it if you're going to have D. Bryan and Rowan drop the straps. Anyway, guys, I'm not going to fault them for that. What I'm going to do, honestly, is look at this match for what it was. For a schmoz, it was actually entertaining, and it was a decent match. The performers went out there, and they did their shit, man. I'm going to be generous. That's going into the good column. So we have a full 5 tally now. So if you think about it, remember what I told you guys, every ugly counts as 2 bads when we do the final count at the end of the review. Well, if you do 3 bads and 1 ugly, that'll turn into 2 bads. That's 5 and 5 good. We're at a tie going into the 7th match. So things are pretty much fucking neck and neck here, man. All right, the 7th match is AJ Styles versus Ricochet, U.S. title. This was a good match, obviously ending with an insane Styles clash that freaked me out, man. I was like a concerned father to Ricochet. I really was. They were up on the ropes, man, and the way I knew what they were going for, and I was just like, oh, fuck, no, please. You know what I mean? Like, I never want to, how do I word it? I never want to watch like a concerned father, you know, like, no, don't do it, man. What about your safety? You know what I mean? I never want to watch pro wrestling like that. But when you really like, I really like Ricochet. I do, man. And I did not want to see this guy get hurt on something that wasn't needed. But they felt, as professionals that they are, some of the best in the world, Styles and Ricochet, they felt that they could pull this off, and they did. It was just so, it was so freaky, man, because for it to be pulled off, it was more Ricochet. Ricochet's athleticism, he has to bend his back, I mean, perfectly at the right time, so he doesn't, I mean, this could have been tragic in so many fucking ways, guys. But they pulled it off. It was an insane Styles clash, and Styles ended up getting the victory here, and obviously the championship. Now, here's the thing, guys. They can do more, right? It's like a theme. I seem to say this with good wrestlers in what should be good matches, and Vince just doesn't give them enough time or doesn't let them go full throttle. They should have been given more time. This could have been so much better. But it's Styles and it's Ricochet. If you give them 7 minutes at the local bingo hall, they're going to tear the place down. So there's no way I can put any negatives out of this other than to say they can do better. But I sound like a broken record at that point. Because you could say that with Cesaro and Aleister Black. You could say that with the Revival and the Usos. They can do better. We should be getting better. That's Vince's product, man. But the match was obviously good. So I ain't going to penalize them for Vince's faults. I already penalized Vince for not changing his set, not giving us pyro, and not making it feel like a fucking pay-per-view. I already penalized him at the beginning of the show. Ninth match, Samoa Joe versus America's most famous IHOP employee. You may know him as Kofi Kingston. Do I really need to say, guy? Come on. Before I even talk about this. That goes right into the bad. What the fuck was that? That was a championship? It was 9 minutes, first of all. You have a 9 minutes... 9 minutes of pure bullshit that's supposed to be for your heavyweight championship. You got a guy who's coming to the ring, who's supposed to be your champion, and he's coming to the ring dancing, smiling, and flinging and slinging pancakes into the crowd. Does that look like a guy who's ready to fight in a championship match? Or does that just look like a fucking IHOP employee that took one too many how you doings before work? And he's in La La Land. He's having the time of his life. He's like, woo! What's that? Order a double stack? Coming up. What the fuck, dude? Come on, what was this? And poor Joe. In all seriousness, all joking aside, man. As I put over on the Twitterplex last night, unfortunately for Joe, that's it for him for any legitimacy in WWE. Credibility is earned over time. Vince never allowed him any, ever. And that was one of the most heartfelt statements you're going to find me say over on Twitter. But I was really feeling the depression for Samoa Joe. That was it was 9 minutes, and Kofi Kingston just beat him. I think it was like Trouble in Paradise or some shit. It was simplistic. And Samoa Joe was just down on his back, and I was like, wow, they really have this. This guy has great mic skills. He can carry a story. He's got a presence. He's good in he's almost the total package, if not the total package. And man, they just will not let him win any big match. BC's had a couple of titles, yeah, for a few weeks at a time, and they were meaningless. He was probably, just like Finn Balor, more irrelevant with the title than without, if that's even possible. So for a title match, a heavyweight title match being less than 10 minutes, first of all. Second of all, Samoa Joe being booked like that yet again, and how tragic that is. Kofi Kingston not even taking his matches seriously, coming out with... Don't give me BC. Once the bell rings, he takes it seriously. No. If you want to sling pancakes, then you do that on SmackDown, that's fine. If you want to do it in non-title matches, I'm still against it because you're about to put on a match, but that's fine. That's part of your gimmick. At your pay-per-view, you're going against a guy like Samoa Joe. At least have the common courtesy to show the world that you take Joe as a serious threat. And when you come dancing and smiling and slinging pancakes, you are not taking people as a threat. It's the same problem I had with Finn Balor. He does it a little less these days, but he used to smile nonstop to the ring. And it was just like, you're not showing your opponent any respect, and you're not telling the audience why they should give a shit when it doesn't look like you do. Bruh, did I already give it a bad? I should have gave this a fucking ugly. I want to give this an ugly, bruh. I want to give it. But I'm a fair reviewer. I'll put it in the fucking bad. 10th match. This was winner take all. Becky Lynch, Raw Women's Champion. Seth Rollins, Universal Champion, taking on Corbin and Evans. Whoever wins, both participants will become respected champions. That makes fucking schmaz. But I also left on the Twitter machine last night over on the Twitterplex. I said 10 years ago we celebrated the first ever Extreme Rules with a ladder match between Edge and Jeff Hardy for the World Heavyweight Championship. And it was a double main event. You also saw Randy Orton take on Batista in a steel cage match for the WWE title. Those two Dynamite double main event matches 10 years ago at the first ever Trivials. And here we are in 2019, 10 years later, and our main event is Lacey Evans and Baron Corbin taking on Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins. Winner takes all. If you didn't read that tweet that I put out and that didn't just suck the life out of you, man, I don't even know what to say. This match was messy as fuck. And can I just say, first of all, I hate when they give out signs to the crowd beforehand. You watch Becky Lynch's entrance and you watch everyone holding out the same little Becky Lynch flyer. It's like a little flyer they put under your seat, or on your seat, I should say. And they put it on your seat, so when you get to your seat, you got a Becky Lynch flyer. And you know that when Becky comes out like sheep, Vince wants to treat you like sheep. He wants you to put the sign up. He used to do it with Bailey. It used to say like the Bailey section and shit. And he tries to make it look on camera that everyone's so behind her. And this isn't just shade to Becky. This is every time that Vince does that. I hate that. Why do you have to tell people or treat them like the sheep they are anyway? Why do you gotta fucking do that to the crowd at home, man? Nobody needs to see everyone holding up the same Becky flyer. Like we're supposed to think they all purchased it at the fucking merchandise stand. Yeah, right. You gave it away and you're hoping that everyone is into this main event. When we're not stupid. It's Lacey and Corbin versus Seth and Becky. I wouldn't even want to see this on my Monday Night Raw main event. Let alone Extreme Rules. All these people holding up their little free Becky flyers. It's pathetic, man. And then Rollins and Lynch are in matching outfits. I can't make this shit up. They're in matching little outfits. Oh, how cute. They woke up one morning, they were like, let's do this. And I'll have the yellow on my black. So anyway, the match gets going. And again, messy as fuck, man. So you have the flyers, which is pathetic. The Becky flyers. And then you have the matching outfits. That's embarrassing. And then the match itself is just a mess. It's a clusterfuck. It was just, every spot was, and there was a lot of spots, don't get me wrong. There was tables and kendo sticks and chairs, and every spot just seemed forced and did not flow at all. Nothing was flowing in this match. There was an end of days to Becky Lynch at the end of this match. That was like the coolest part of the match. Wow, did they really just do that to a woman? And that led to a ballistic Rollins delivering 3 stomps to Corbin in a simplistic victory. 3 stomps and that was it. And Rollins and Becky Lynch win this main event. And then here comes the fucking turmoil. Here comes the controversy. Here comes the pain. Brock Lesnar's music hits. First of all, for the match itself, before we even get to Brock, this match obviously goes into the bad. There's no fucking way. There's no way. What the fuck? Huh? How the fuck are you going to put that match into the good? BC, it was some good spots. They went through tables and they had kendo sticks and chairs. The fuck cares? It's Extreme Rules and that's your main event and it wasn't even pulled off in a good fucking way. No, that main event does not go in the good. It doesn't deserve to go in the good. You're lucky I'm not putting it into the ugly. Becky flyers, matching outfits in a clusterfuck match. Come on, bro. But then Lesnar comes down and Lesnar cashes in his Money in the Bank briefcase and in about 20 seconds defeats Seth Rollins for the championship. Now listen, there's a few moves at play here. Number 1, I am glad Seth Rollins has dropped that title. I'm glad the Rollins era is over, and I'm going to tell you why. Because the Rollins era sucked. Nothing changed. Vince McMahon used him a little bit as a vehicle to voice frustrations, kind of like they're doing now with Kevin Owens. But it didn't lead to anything. In fact, ever since Seth Rollins has been dating Becky Lynch, I feel like this is a subdued Seth Rollins. I feel this is not the best Seth Rollins we've seen in years. So Rollins with that strap was not doing anything for the Amplified man and just gauging the audience. Wasn't doing a lot for a lot of the people out there in the world. Watching this shit. Seth Rollins he lost what made him special, and he's got to find that. I'm not saying break up with Becky, man. I hope they, have a fabulous relationship, get married, have 76 children. That's cool. But you got to keep that edge, man. The only edge we saw to Seth Rollins recently was going on Twitter and blasting fans and his fellow peers for being unhappy with WWE. And to the point where he actually had to go back on Twitter and apologize to people like Will Ospreay because he knew he was being a douchebag. Bro, that's what I mean. I think things started to get to Seth Rollins' head. When he got that championship, he really started to believe that he was on a level that nobody can touch. Dude, don't lose who you are, bro. I think dropping that title is great, not just for the fans, but for Seth Rollins as well. Maybe that'll recapture that spark that Seth Rollins once had, and hopefully he can look in the mirror and regain that shit. So first and foremost, I'm glad Seth Rollins' era is over with that title, for now anyway, until he can find himself again. On the other hand, now Brock Lesnar. Or should I... Listen, I know a lot of people, it's redundancy, right? And that's my thing. You guys know I'm a huge Brock Lesnar fan, but I was the first one to admit toward the end of his last run that this has to end. Showing up every now and again when you're the champion cannot happen. If you're not the champion, I'm fine with it. Brock Lesnar can be an entity that only shows up every now and again. I'm cool with it. With the championship, I just want to make this clear so nobody thinks I'm just contradicting myself. I love Brock and I'm okay with him showing up every now and again as long as he doesn't have a championship. Now he does have a championship, and this is why I have a problem with that. So I'm glad the Rollins era is over. I am not happy that the Lesnar era with that title is happening. So that offsets each other. So where am I going to put this on the column? Well, it all comes down to how the cash-in was done. And it was done in the same way that it's always done. Guy comes out, and within 20 seconds, the title changes hands. Can we get more creative? I'm not saying you go out there and they put on a 10-minute extra match, because that might delude the fact that we're having a cash-in, right? Everyone's all excited. There's a cash-in. And then if you have a 10-minute match, everybody might be kind of settled by then. And then when there's a winner, that special feeling is already gone. So I understand. I don't want a 10-minute match, maybe not even a 5, but can we get creative? Lesnar just came out, a simple F5, match over, new champ. And that's the reason this is going into the bad guys. That might be shocking to you. It wasn't because Brock got the title, although I'm agreeing that could go into a bad column as well, because I'm not in agreement with Brock having the championship. I don't think that's the right thing to do, because now we're all going to be held captive by fucking Brock's title reign. We're not going to see Brock more than 2 times every 2 months, and that's being generous. But because that offsets the fact that I'm happy that Rollins is no longer the champ, we have to come down to how Lesnar won the title, and I'm sick of the same old simplistic cash-in. Cash-in, two moves at best, and we get a new champ now. So that's going into the bad column. And again, it's not just because Brock became champ. That offset with Rollins not being champ. It's because I'm so fucking tired of no creativity getting put into the cash-ins. That was a mouthful. That was Extreme Rules 2019. Let's see where we got. I don't even know, guys. 5, 6 good, 6 bad. It all came down to one fucking ugly, and that was the fucking Shinsuke and Finn Balor bullshit. If it wasn't for that, if you cross that out, this would have been a tiebreaker. And I don't even know, because we counted the pre-show too. We counted Gulak and Nice, and it wasn't no fault of their own. It was just, I'm sick of seeing the cruiserweights just stuck on the pre-show. Either get rid of them or do something special with them. But just parading them out there on the pre-show every single pay-per-view is not doing them justice or your company. It's actually embarrassing for them at this point. So I don't know what we would have done. It would have been you know what? I don't even got to think about what we would have done, because that's not the case. The ugly kind of decided this pay-per-view, and again, we crossed that ugly out. If I can get my fucking marker, I can't. Get off! That gets crossed off. Every ugly counts as 2 bad. So in the end, guys, it's going to be 8-6. This was a bad special event pay-per-view. I know some people are going to cry. Beefy, fuck you, man. Fuck you, Beefy. This was a good pay-per-view. It had tables. It had action. It had good shit, man. It was good shit. But, no. Look in my eyes. Look at me! It wasn't good, because I said so. You're watching the real review now. This is the good, bad, and ugly. We dissect the bullshit. We give props and praise to all the great shit. But I'm telling you right now, when it's said and done, you're going to get the most honest review right here. And you just got it. By 2 tallies, this was a bad pay-per-view. I dissected it. I showed you exactly where the bad and good came from. I showed you and I told you what needs to be changed. And if people start listening, more people in the know start listening to the Amplified Man, this company could change for the better. So if you're one of those that are crying over this review, just know you got a lot of learning to do. Smash that subscription button and you'll start learning a lot from the Amplified Man on this channel. My already subscribers, they'll let you know how we do business on this channel. I'm the Amplified Man. The Amplified Man. And for now, we'll go to Raw tonight and rock it out again. I'll see you for the review tomorrow morning. Check you later.